Hi, everyone. I'm Lena. I'm a proud member of the EPA Region 3 team covering the Mid-Atlantic states. We are so honored that you're and excited and tickled and surprised that you're joining us during your lunch hours because it's a lot of screen time. But hopefully we present this next 25 minutes as sort of like a more relaxed period where you can eat your food, take a break, maybe listen to my voice and hear some of the winners of this EJ video announcement while also enjoying yourself and taking care of yourself. You'll notice that a number of people are sharing in the chat where they're calling from, which is really lovely. Sometimes it's sort of a lonely space to be in these large virtual environments. So taking a moment to notice who is with us, as well as a moment to notice where we're all hailing from is a really wonderful thing. I see Susan's just typed in a nice long message that she's from Maryland. So we're not alone, even though sometimes it feels a little bit isolated in these virtual spaces. I'm sitting here in the land traditionally stewarded by the Lenni Lenape tribe here in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection on this beautiful day. And it behooves us here within the EPA to acknowledge that we're not the first, nor will we be the last people who sit here on this land that we're using right now. And the Lenni Lenape tribe, I like to point out, was a matriarchal, matrilineal tribe. And it's a nice segue into the discussion of environmental justice and lifting the voices of all people, the underserved, the marginalized, the people whose voices used to not be lifted long ago. And what we're doing for this relaxing 20 minutes left in this session is watching a few videos that were developed by 3 different groups of pretty amazing students from 3 different universities that won awards. And I'm going to give you a few bullets just to make sure that I get this correctly about what type of award they won. Just a few weeks ago, EPA, for whom I work, and our co-sponsors, there's a list of them, but I'll give you 2 examples of these co-sponsors, the Environmental Defense Fund and the Environmental Justice Journal. Those are 2 of these co-sponsors. We designated winners of the annual Environmental Justice Video Challenge for students, which is just so fantastic and cool. I will be honest, I didn't know about this video award until I was approached to narrate and to co-host this viewing. So, you learn something new every day within EPA and wherever you all are happen to be sitting. And now these were videos that were assembled by teams of college students and community organizations near those colleges that those students were studying or are studying in. And they were developed to pinpoint community capacity building strategies to address EJ issues that were important to those communities. So from what I gather, I'll use my alma mater, the University of Pennsylvania, a team of students from the University of Pennsylvania and another college nearby, a few blocks away from where I'm sitting, Drexel University. A small group of students got together and approached a community organization here in Philadelphia and said, let's work together, pinpoint an environmental justice issue, and we, the students, will work with you, the community, to develop something that's informative. And it ended up being so informative that it was acknowledged, it won an award designated by EPA and our co-sponsors. Boy, that's a long way to say congratulations, students, and congratulations, communities. And the first winner that we'd like to show is a short video. It's called Making Eastwick Whole. And I would love to say that I'm the one who's managing the technology because it's such a gift, but no, my colleague Joy is doing this for me. She just brought up that first screenshot of the video. So it's called Making Eastwick, and Eastwick is a suburb, an area outside of Center City, Philadelphia, where I'm sitting. And students from the University of Pennsylvania and Drexel University collaborated with the Eastwick United Community Development Corporation, which is a really fantastic group of folks who are making change focused on environmental justice. And I'll name the student names because those are listed in the really fabulous press release that EPA sent out a few weeks ago. Amina McNulty, Allison Wocha, Jackson Plumley, and Nina Valentine. So with that, let's watch Making Eastwick Whole and think of it from an environmental justice lens.
The Eastwick community is the southernmost part within the city of Philadelphia. The built-out community that you see today is very deceptive. Starting with repetitive catastrophic flooding, what goes on upstream impacts us downstream. We had people standing on their roofs waving shirts. This issue has been ignored for decades now. Community capacity building, to me, it's education, having a very strong network and mechanism where people can go to for resources to be that anchor.
I am a student at the University of Pennsylvania collaborating with the Eastwick United Community Development Corporation.
Carolyn Mosley at Eastwick United has been generous to explain the work happening on the ground here already.
We define capacity building as leveraging resources to expand and deepen a community's self-sustained impact, agency, and power over time.
We are recruiting ambassadors to help form support groups, have them to weigh in on the solutions, identify younger people so that they can carry on this work.
Being a community ambassador is someone who is educated on their community and is able to advocate for it on like a city government level. Oftentimes we'll have stakeholder meetings with people from the Superfund side and FEMA talking about how can we resolve this flooding issue.
Riding the momentum of the Community Ambassador Program, we propose a place-based education model that centers environmental justice as a lived experience and practice. We then imagine how and where a pilot project would emerge from this curriculum to build a climate-just community hub. One potential site is the Pepper School, a local middle school that closed in 2013.
The community has a vision to do some economic development, to put in businesses and or services and or entertainment venues.
So I think it would be a bonding spot for a lot of community members and a place to even have community meetings as well.
Our team has utilized a series of publicly accessible data to map historical and socioeconomic trends, environmental risk, and health disparities. This school sits 2 feet below sea level at the lowest point in the neighborhood. Routine flooding, persistent air pollution, and soil contamination make this underused resource a potential for a vibrant community hub. Investment could include outdoor recreation and education spaces, community art installations, local retail and shops, even community gardens.
We continue to be that example to let other communities like ours know what the possibilities are. There are resources out there, there are folks out there that are willing to serve as that beacon of light and of hope for others.
Joy, thank you for playing that for us. And everyone, those of you who might have entered a little bit later, thank you for joining us. We just saw Making Eastwick Whole. I love the emojis. It tells me there are people out there listening and watching and loving. Feel free to join in the chat. If there was anything that struck you that was most compelling, that's your takeaway from that video, I'll start. The fact that students think so differently sometimes than we as adults a little bit later in our careers, and they're the voice of the future. It's empowering just to watch that. And I also loved that T-shirt that the one gentleman was wearing. It said on his very, very clearly, "Be a force for nature." Did anyone else have any thoughts or takeaways? And if you don't feel like typing and you're busy eating lunch, please continue to eat lunch. That's taking care of yourself is most important. Marcus mentions, I like the way the video talked about how what happens upstream affects downstream. Yeah, literally and figuratively, Marcus. I'll say welcome also to those folks from the Audubon Society and from the Elizabeth River Project. Ooh, you all have a really great saying as well. I forget what it was, but get the goo out, was it? Hello, Elizabeth River, Ohio University, Scott from West Virginia DEP. Welcome, everyone. I'll give everyone a moment just to process. And while they are processing, the goo must go. That's it. Ooh. I'm in the communication space, Pamela, and whenever I see that, I just think whoever developed that was masterful. Go Elizabeth River Project. The goo must go. Okay. So with that nice segue, let's go into our next video. We have 2 videos that were winners of this award. There was a nice chunk of award monies that was handed to the students and the communities as well. I won't list those, but I will say that they did receive financial compensation for their great videos. And this next one is called Pollution to Prosperity, Tackling Landfill Impacts. And this was a collaboration between students at the University of Richmond and a community group called Concerned Citizens of Charles City County. And I'll name those students: Megan Salters, McKenna Dunbar, and Sarah Murtaugh. And with that, I'm going to just check out this chat. I worry about a community garden on a former polluted site. Soil remediation, while it can be done, is costly. Corey, thank you for that perspective. And I'm sure you're probably not the first one to voice that concern. And I'm guessing the students or the people who developed this probably had that discussion, because from what I gather, there were lots of conversations between the student groups and the community members whom the areas that are highlighted in these videos, those are their homes. Thank you for sharing that. So with that, Joy, feel free to roll this video.
Just 40 years after the rise of Robert Buillard's environmental justice investigations on toxic waste disposal, landfills are still a highlighted concern for air, water, and soil quality. In the new era of Southern social inequities, the impact of Virginia's first mega landfill cannot be more clear.
To strategize goals for addressing this issue, feedback was received from C5 and a focus group was held with residents living in close proximity to the landfill.
We got to a point where I tell her, let's boil water just to have water to drink. Just imagine cooking food now. Wow. So that we have to take money out of our pocket to go buy water so that we can able just to cook some soup.
Where the landfill ends, our property begins. In the last year or so, there's starting to be an aftertaste.
It needs to be spoken up and it needs to be addressed because it's unsafe.
We proposed regular chemical and microvertebrate water quality testing across Charles City County. Water testing will take place at 2 field sites on a monthly basis for 24 months, performed in collaboration with community members and partner organizations. Data will ultimately be shared with the Virginia DEQ. To address air quality, we propose the installation of a network of purple air monitors, a particulate matter monitoring system that empowers communities with accessible data. Using EJ Screen, we found that Charles City is in the 80th to 90th percentile for asthma and heart disease on the national scale. Seeing that these conditions are aggravated by landfill emissions, these monitors are of utmost importance.
A door-to-door health study should be conducted for residents to assess discrepancy in health risk related to nearby pollutants. Charles City needs a trained medical expert who has high ethical standards for defending community rights and the ability to show these results in a court of law. To address the expansion of landfill cells, C5 seeks to implement a compost and recycling program to divert waste and give value back into the community through redistributed material and jobs created. The Barnett School and Community Garden has been identified as a compost processing site and drop-off location. However, much of the waste in the Charles City landfill comes from out of state due to Virginia's low tipping fees. Therefore, policy needs to be made nationwide that addresses these inequities burdened on EJ communities by requiring the sorting, recycling, and composting of items that could be reintegrated into a circular economy.
As we advance further into the clean energy transition, building electrification is a crucial step in ensuring access to reliable, affordable, and clean energy for all members of the Commonwealth. Our strategy involves the implementation of a green workforce development program that trains interested residents to help homeowners, renters, and businesses save money and improve indoor air quality conditions through energy efficiency and building electrification education. As we progress, it is our responsibility to continue this fight and to ensure that the voices and experiences of institutionally underserved communities are centered in our conversations about environmental justice and in shaping the future of waste management.
Thank you, Joy. What a relief that you're taking care of that. Thank you, Gail. I appreciate it. And the emojis tell me that along with maybe eating your lunch and maybe taking a quick walk between summit sessions, you're listening and or even watching. And I wonder if I could ask the same question that I asked in the earlier video. Because social science just tells us that if we name one thing that we will remember or we found most compelling or a takeaway, we end up remembering it more the following day because we have so many inputs coming to us. So if was there anything most striking to you about this particular video? Lindsay, I utilize the link in my registration email to log in as directed. Am I in the correct place for the tech check? Oh, Lindsay, I wish you well, and I hope you reach the correct place for your tech check. For anyone else, were there any comments or thoughts that you had on this video developed by this young group of scholars and their local community? We'll give it a moment. There's no rush. Ben mentioned, I like that the community was involved in the testing process, so there's an element of trust in the results. That's so powerful and so true, Ben. Isn't it a fact that when your voice is part of the solution to the problem, you're more invested in making it work? Felicia, hi Felicia Fred, I didn't realize you were here with us. Raised garden beds can help with community gardens on former contaminated sites. It's really cool to know. The field testing was nice, said Marcus. They even had kids involved. Yeah, I noticed that young, she was definitely not a college student. Isn't that what environmental justice is about? Shocked at how close the local community properties were to a mega landfill. Yeah, Andrew. Their camera angles were really compelling. Like each of the videos we just saw had different strengths, and this particular one, pollution and prosperity, they had some really fantastic and compelling shots. Communities do not lie. Mm-hmm. That's interesting, Marcus. I wonder, in the final minutes of this half hour, we were thinking about sharing a video from another award winner, but one that is not in the Mid-Atlantic region. But instead of that, because I don't want people to rush, and I want to make sure that if we were to show a video, we would honor that video with the same questions. Maybe folks in the final few minutes, 6 minutes of this informal discussion might share what they've learned in other sessions in the summit away from these videos that they found most compelling or interesting thus far, because we all haven't been able to attend all the sessions. And sometimes getting together for a little bit of a circle of wisdom is helpful for other folks. Thank you, Felicia. She loved the generational involvement. It was so beautiful. That was my favorite clip in the beginning. But thus far, what is a major takeaway or piece of knowledge you've learned in this summit thus far that you might remember in the following weeks, months, year? I know Felicia has something. Food waste infrastructure in EJ communities, question mark? Are you asking us, Brian, or is that your takeaway from the summit thus far? I'll state my takeaway, I won't type it. That even though I much prefer being with folks as Felicia and Jessica and people who know me know in person, it's a different vibe. I do think there's something quite transformational about the fact that because of this virtual space, we can be cutting through the traditional silos, and we can have folks from West Virginia and Maryland, Pennsylvania, the whole Mid-Atlantic region together, just to have a viewing party and to have comments with one another. That's not typical, and it wasn't something that was easy to do prior to this period in our lives. The food waste presentations were nice. That's good to know, Brian, for those who want to go back and watch recordings. Ben said, I like the messaging I heard about getting new municipal developments like landfills, which have a significant impact on water. And sometimes there is not enough money to extend public water to everyone. Thank you. Everyone sharing in the chat, these are all, we can't remember everything nor attend all the sessions, but to hear what other people found compelling is certainly interesting. And as my Indigenous mentor, she's a mixed race woman on the West Coast who's Native American. She said that they often begin and end their discussions with this circle of wisdom, as people sharing what they thought was most interesting. So we're taking a little bit of that practice from another community that we are hoping to support and lift through environmental justice practices within this circle of wisdom here. Any other thoughts on the summit or life in the pursuit of happiness? As we advance environmental justice. I definitely think sticking a camera or an iPhone in the hand of a young person with big ideas is certainly a great thing. We have 2 minutes left, folks. I'll start winding down with this gentle reminder that Joy has just sent to me. I don't think everyone saw it. The next session starts at 1 p.m. Joy, perhaps we can close this down at 12:59 so we don't have a mad rush and people get a little bit of transition time. I want to thank everyone for joining me here in this viewing party. I wish I could meet you all in person someday. Maybe we will. And have a great rest of the day. And I'll read Andreen's comment. I'm grateful that varying levels of government, federal, state, and tribal are all working together and sharing information to help improve internal processes. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful way to conclude this. And thanks, Corey, for the thank you. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Bye.